You know, have you seen the documentary about Pete Rose yet?
I have not.
We should talk about that one maybe
Okay.
at some point. Maybe not even record
Pete Rose,
but
who's getting in. He's getting in. He might get in now.
Is he going to get?
I don't know if he's going to get in, but he's eligible again. He's now eligible.
That becomes
They should still put all the steroids guys in. That's
the gambling scandal keeps him from being considered for the Hall of Fame.
They lifted that. They lifted his lifetime ban, so he can now be voted in if the voters
know that.
choose.
Okay, so
unlike all of the steroid guys, because baseball writers are idiots.
You see about the sports commentary that
it's like
I don't have feelings
baseball
about
writers.
I don't know.
You want to like
I have feelings about baseball, but
I have feelings about baseball and baseball writers.
Yeah,
but my feeling is we should let the steroid guys in. That in fact more steroids would be better for baseball.
So
that's my unpopular opinion.
Okay, is that your takeaway? Is that
it's not my takeaway? No, we
Welcome to Cult Favorite, the podcast that will not come out of retirement twice. That's bad form, don't you think?
He never, that's what I'm going to say whenever we stop this. I'm going to say, I could do it, just don't want to. Was that what he said? Something like that.
We're talking about the football. And we're back to where it all began. Welcome to our surroundings, our little hobbit hovel.
You never dropped your name.
Oh, well, no, I mean, okay, right.
Who are you?
We're not going to come out of retirement twice. And I'm Miranda Simmons. I'm reacclimating.
Right, I know. And I'm Mike Altman. We didn't have video. No one saw this face. No one knows that.
Welcome to Mike's space.
My space. My extra space.
Remember my space?
Came rushing back. That's right. Which also shows up in the documentary.
Oh, yeah. All right. We are two religious studies professors.
We are two religious studies professors knocking phones. Knocking phones down. We are two religious studies professors.
Trying to make sense of so many things.
Of all these cult documentaries that you can't stop binge watching. It's
not a technical cult.
But this is part of our summer series that we never really announced, but kind of are doing.
Football is not technically a summer sport, is it? But
it is not.
They practice a lot in the summer. And I feel like sports signal summer to me.
Yeah.
Even though I know that even
though most sports don't actually,
happen in the summer. I do understand that cognitively. Although the French Open just came and went.
Yes.
And
I know that you are a tennis person.
I am a tennis person. It's the only sport that I actively watch on the TV.
I remember
keep up with.
I stopped in your office for some reason and you were watching tennis and then took that as an excuse to watch whatever I wanted to watch during.
Stop it. I don't. I'm sure I was organizing books at the time.
Now I can
or something.
Watch.
Knock it off.
No, there's plenty. You're not the only colleague I've seen watching all sorts of random things.
I'm sure it was not during work hours. Anyway, so what else is going on, Michael? It's been a minute since I've seen you. Happy summer.
It's summer. By the time we were recording this, you just got back.
I just got back from a trip. You're about to go on a trip.
By the time this comes out, I will be back from the trip.
And so, we're making time and space in between things.
Our building, we got kicked out of our building, which is what happened last summer.
They're renovating. It's what happens.
I did sneak back in to get some stuff.
Okay. You're just making all sorts of work confessions right now. And you reminded me just the other day that this is our 1 year anniversary. Happy anniversary, friend.
Our 1 year of this podcast.
You know what else it is?
32 episodes.
It's your birthday in 2 days.
It is.
I brought you something.
Oh no.
Well, it's not something. It's not. Don't get excited because I was gonna try. I know that an old fashioned donut is your favorite.
Yeah.
But that place was closed, and so I got you a chocolate cookie.
Thank you.
It was the last cookie available at the only coffee shop I could make it to. So
that means so much.
I don't know if it's any good, but you could try to you could warm it up maybe, and then it'll be soft, and you could stick a candle in it or something.
No.
Yeah.
Are
you allergic to chocolate or anything?
Oh.
Okay.
I love stretching out stretching out my birthday. Like,
great.
Do stuff like I'm like, yeah, it's like
Yeah,
birthday
no, I'm
week.
into it.
I'll be like, hey guys, it's my birthday month. Like that's not a thing. I'm like,
100%.
all of
It is a
June.
thing for you.
All of June.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about Brett Favre, the Untold, the Fall of Favre.
That's an ESPN series,
The
right?
Netflix series.
It's a Netflix series, but isn't it like...
No, it's net. From what I can gather.
ESPN is 30 for 30.
Yeah, it's Netflix trying to be like, what if we did 30 for 32?
Okay.
But I think it
Okay.
is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and 30 for 30, I mean, that's been around because it was originally
For
for
a
the 30th anniversary of ESPN, like way back when. Like that Miami documentary I mentioned,
yes.
that was a 30 for 30, like
yes.
one of the original runs.
Okay.
So yeah, Untold. There's a ton of these on Netflix. We probably watch another at some point. I don't know. There's a Liver King one. I'm really intrigued by the Liver King one.
Are you? Anyway, yes.
But this was your idea.
It was. It's Untold, the Fall of Favre. And that's it. That's what we're watching. That's what we're watching. We'll talk about why.
We'll talk about why in a second.
But what did you know?
Oh, I knew. I was very aware. This was like, yeah, I knew all about. Like, I grew up watching Brett Favre. Okay. Was like, when I played video games, I was always the Packers because the Falcons sucked.
He was the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
Okay. And quarterback, like, right in that prime age of when I was like very much watching sports. In those sort of like middle school, like upper elementary school through early high school years. Mm-hmm. I remember the story that we're going to talk about, that the documentary is about the text messages and the harassment. Okay. And at that point, it's funny watching this back and thinking about like how I thought about Brett Favre in real time when it was happening, like in real time, and like the retirement stuff that we'll talk about in a second was already made me like not like Brett Favre. And then this, like the first set of retirement nonsense, and then thing happened, and like as at that time just a person who listened to a lot of sports talk radio and watched a lot of ESPN, it was like, yeah, I totally, you just sort of, so, yeah. In my view, I knew about the welfare fraud partially because of Brett Favre, but also because it was like way more extensive than it shows up in here. Like,
he's a football star who has a sexting scandal and a welfare misappropriation fund scandal.
And those are the two. The same welfare scandal also involved Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man from WWF, who ran a Christian ministry that also defrauded as part of this thing too.
Part of the same one in Mississippi?
Yeah, the same one. Huh. It was like multiple agencies.
I see.
A lot of people
got
money from the
head of
the state administrators there. So I knew that. Okay. And then I actually think that we'll get to the end, but there's like 7 people who were charged. I think that he was one of them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what I knew.
That's what you knew?
This was in the water that I swam in as a teenager.
Perfect.
So yeah.
I had heard his name, and I was confused about why people pronounced it with the R instead, like in front of the V.
Yeah,
I could
think that's
maybe
he was from Mississippi.
Well, what I learned, because I was one of the things that I learned through researching for today's episode is that he pronounces it Favre, and so that makes me feel better. I can go with that now. I was like, it's
Favre.
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 It's French, right?
Favre.
So anyway, I think maybe if pressed, I could have said he has something to do with sports.
Yeah.
That's about all I knew.
This is like
could not pick him out of a lineup.
Yeah.
Did not have any context for him.
Yeah. This is like one of the games I play with my partner when we're bored. I'm like, I'll name it, like, do you know what sport so-and-so plays? Or if do you know any, name an athlete that does this sport? And just
sounds like conversational Trivial Pursuit. I'm against it.
It's really hard to be with
I'm
me.
against it. What's our synopsis? You got a lot of notes, bud. So
we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
So what gets covered, it's the rise of Brett Favre as an NFL quarterback, star, sports icon, his harassment of Jenn Sterger. We'll talk more about that. Game day host when he goes to the New York Jets, involvement in Mississippi welfare fraud scheme, and overall an example of sort of charisma. The phrase cult following gets thrown around a couple times.
Quickly.
What doesn't get covered, I mean, there's a lot of cameos and talking heads in the documentary, so that I think are way more significant if you know who they are.
Okay.
There's a lot going on in terms of who's
I definitely had no
doc-
context for anyone.
Right. And so
I did recognize Michael Vick though.
Yeah, which that's a whole that's amazing. That
sure.
was I like
we're the first
he's
the first person
I literally
that we
hollered
see.
when he showed up on the screen. I was like, oh snap.
Oh,
like,
okay.
It, like there's a lot there.
Okay.
And then yeah, so we'll talk about that. What happens in the doc? Okay. I'm gonna try to do this in 5 minutes.
I think we should just throw that out.
I think it's a funny gimmick now. I think it's the thing that never it's the longest 5 minutes in podcasting.
Ugh.
Whatever. Well, here we go. Okay.
All right.
What happens? So and I do think what this documentary does well is it sort of braids together the stories of Jenn Sterger and Brett Favre. So it's not like this is Brett Favre's story and she just shows up at that moment. There's a kind of, we get a back and forth. So we get
her rise, his rise. Yeah.
We get this introductory montage, and then we're about the quarterback. I wrote in all caps as sort of a cult-like figure, and the power of Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers is an NFL team. Like, so it's not just that he was a quarterback, but that it is that the Green Bay Packers have a specific historical significance.
Because they were the team of the 60s.
They were the team.
And
Vince
then
Lombardi
they
was
started
their coach.
Then they were doing badly.
Yes.
And they had like a almost 30-year slump.
And they are.
Then he brought them back.
They're also a professional team in a not major market.
Okay.
Right. They're in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Sure.
Not in New York. Yeah. Not in Dallas.
Okay.
Not in Los Angeles. Right. And I don't know if this is still true. I know it was true at this time during Brett Favre's career, but they were technically they were shares of the team owned by fans in town.
Oh.
Like not really, but kind of like they had these like you could buy like it was this sort of so there's a kind of they're the closest. They're the closest to a college football team in terms of fan culture, I think, of any pro sports team.
Because people are literally invested in it.
Yeah, and they're never moving, and they're in Wisconsin. They're this there's a whole Vince Lombardi, like the trophy you get when you win the Super Bowl is the Lombardi Trophy, named after
Fascinating.
Vince Lombardi.
I had heard that name before as well.
Yeah.
But was also
famous
not
coach.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Famous coach.
So
so they are simultaneously underdogs who also give home to legends.
Yes,
like it's
exactly.
Yeah.
It is exactly this. And so we pick up we get a little bit of Brett Favre as quarterback coming out of Southern Miss. He's drafted
in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Yes.
University of Southern Mississippi.
Yes. Which has had a up and down tradition of football. Mostly because there's a lot of football talent nearby. So when they're able to capitalize on that. Drafted in 1991, 33rd overall pick. So high in the second round by the Atlanta Falcons, who suck.
We're going to get a lot of like makeshift sports commentary without context is my hunch about this episode.
Stop me if you have questions.
I have so many, but luckily I do not have feelings about or opinions about the sports on this front. So
I didn't expect this episode to be more sports lore from Mike, but so he gets drafted by the Falcons coming out of and there's this like Jerry Glanville, the coach at the time of the Falcons, has no interest in playing him whatsoever. And part of it is Glanville is part of this very very complicated, fancy passing first offense called the run and shoot.
Okay.
And Favre in college played a very run first and then just look and chuck it to the open guy, very simple offense. Okay. So there was a sense of like he was too dumb to fit Glanville.
He was throwing fastballs.
Yeah, he
wasn't throwing curveballs.
And I only bring that up because it's like the beginning of his sort of like his sort of characterization as like the gunslinger, the guy he just gets out there and just throws it, and he's gonna the whole play is gonna fall apart, and he's gonna run around and get open and just chuck it downfield, as opposed to like what Glanville wanted was like somebody precise who could like look at what the defense is doing and be like, all right, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and very blah blah blah.
Play chess
if this
on a football field.
Yes,
yeah.
Which would actually later on. Peyton Manning, I think, is the example, the counter example.
Oh, okay.
In a lot of ways. Or Tom Brady. You know those names.
I'm with all of you listening who this is just kind of like it's through a sieve for all of us, and that's okay because we're all represented in this conversation.
Yeah, so it's actually probably the best way to do this. Falcons trade him to Green Bay in '92, and in the first game of the season, the starting quarterback gets injured. Favre gets put in, and away we go. From
the rest is history.
The rest is history. Was it Wally Pip? Yeah.
And they didn't have a losing season since. I mean,
they didn't until for like years.
Yeah. Not until after they won the Super Bowl.
Right. And then the story shifts. So we kind of get him as Green Bay icon in the mid 90s. And then we shift and we get the story of Jenn Sterger. So Sterger grew up around football. She goes to Florida State, goes to the 2005 Florida State versus Miami game. And she talks about being a bartender before the game, has a drink spilled on her shirt, has a swimsuit underneath it. So she just wears the bikini.
Sure.
Found out and she's known as sort of the cowboy, the cowgirl, because she has a cowboy hat on.
Video cuts to her and her friends cheering. What's his name?
Brett Musburger, notorious for making very creepy comments about women on TV.
I am heaving a deep sigh because when the video cuts to her and her friends cheering, he says 15,000 red-blooded Americans just decided to apply to Florida State. Whatever.
He does that all. The thing that they don't mention is like he does this all the time.
Why would they mention that?
That's why
why would they feel like that's relevant information to mention? This is what. But I'm getting ahead of ourselves. But
there are those. There's no like.
That's
I don't have evidence to back this up. But his phasing out as a broadcaster, I think, was because that sort of stuff just didn't work anymore.
Do we not think it works anymore?
I don't.
Anyway, we'll get there.
I don't know. I don't watch a lot of football. I don't watch all the NFL football.
He says that. And then Deadspin picks it up, and then she starts getting calls.
The cowgirls was not just her; it was like a whole group of students that did this regularly.
Makes sense.
Is another piece of it,
sure,
right?
Sure.
But yeah, Deadspin picks it up. I've read a lot of Deadspin as well. Which had this own.
She breaks Facebook.
Yeah,
it's one of the things I learned.
She breaks Facebook. She takes on this role as the cowgirl at FSU game. And as she says at one point, I played the game, as she puts it.
Yeah.
She ends up appearing in Playboy, Maxim, and Sports Illustrated, and then gets hired to write for SI.com. And this is like
given a show.
Yeah, it gets a show on Versus, which was like a third-tier sports channel. It used to be like that. It was like the Outdoor Network at one point.
Is she the one? Okay. This is you can blame the not following 5 minutes on me. So I'm helping you out really. But is it fair to say that she kind of starts unintentionally the phenomenon of the like beautiful cis woman who is like, the conventionally attractive person with long tenderly hair standing on the sidelines talking to players and coaches? Or is that a thing that happened before?
That's the thing that happened before that she is trying. She says at one point.
She taps into that.
That's her goal. Is like she wants to be the next Erin Andrews. So Erin Andrews was the sideline reporter for ESPN.
Okay.
Right? So that's the figure that you're like.
I would like to know.
Andrews transitions into like serious reportage.
Well,
in a certain way. At a certain
I assume that many of these women are serious reporters that just are not given their due as serious reporters and are like. Is my, like presumption. I would be curious to hear more about that history and context and like moment in media sports coverage.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that doesn't get covered in this documentary
because Erin Andrews had her own leaked photos taken without her knowledge that were then leaked.
Yeah.
So like
all right.
When she says I want to be the next Erin Andrews,
I didn't again through a sieve, so it didn't land.
And that's what I think. Jamil Hill,
yes.
Who appears in this,
I like her very much.
She's the one. This is her beat. She's written about this a lot. Like that. Okay. She was she was the perfect choice for who you want to kind of speak on that, because she was kind of forced out of ESPN for being sort of politically vocal and not kind of playing the game in certain
about
ways.
the structural misogyny that characterizes so much sports
and
journalism.
about like a lot of race issues.
Yeah, sure.
Stuff. So yes, exactly. So
thank you.
Then we switch back to Favre and his Super Bowl win in 1997. I remember that. Remember that game. And one of the reporters, I can't remember if it was Peter King or the local Wisconsin guy, says like, he's the most charismatic player I've ever covered, which I find funny because I never thought of Brett Favre as like charismatic. Like,
well, he was somebody that people wanted.
Like Dennis Rodman is charismatic.
Sure. But Brett Favre was, I keep wanting to pronounce it incorrectly, which in my head, anyway, he was a guy that people wanted to root for. Like his charisma was this kind of underdog, small town boy makes it big.
No, I think
hunts and fishes,
and he did it
and you want to get a beer with him, and he's that kind of dude.
And I think if you think when I think about other
local town hero,
right? I think about other football players from his era who were sort of had that same sort of height of charisma. A lot of those guys, like Michael Irvin or like Terrell Owens, like they were phenomenally athletic in a way where like that guy's so fast, that guy can jump so high, that guy is, and Brett Favre was like he was athletic, but it was in a way that you felt like it was the kind of athleticism you get from like working on a farm for 5 years.
And also is a superhuman athletic talent that a regular human could see themselves represented by. And if like Dennis Rodman has charisma, but does not pretend or presume to be a representative of the like common person or whatever.
There's something to be said about what does charisma look. How much does charisma mean? Like I, as a cis white dude who's like 14, could look at Brett Favre and see like that could be me.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I couldn't be Dennis Rodman. I couldn't be Michael Irvin. I couldn't be any number Reggie White, who played on those teams with him, who was this giant linebacker guy. Couldn't be that because I'm not a giant black guy.
So like, what's the proximity?
But that proximity to the audience.
When is charisma something that happens because you feel a certain proximity to it, and when is charisma something that happens because you are impossibly removed from it?
Exactly. So there's beginnings to hear. There's a couple of people who work for the Packers who, at this time, who are in the documentary, talk about like. People talked about they want to, was it Brett the Family Man? And they're like, I don't know what that means. Like there were sort of hints that there might not be the squeaky clean image that is projected. And then we fast forward to 2005. So it really does jump quickly. And the Packers draft Aaron Rodgers as their new quarterback, who is his own.
He's a thing?
Yeah.
I assume he's a thing.
He has his own set of conspirous theories.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. We won't go down that rabbit hole. That'll be a
prayer and essential oils. And so this begins a series of when is Brett going to retire? And I remember this
because Brett at this point is also like throwing a lot of interceptions and is starting.
I went back and looked at his numbers. They were not that bad. They were not that bad. Like the team did not perform as well. But I was kind of like, I don't know. But I also think Aaron Rodgers. So one of the things too is the NFL has slots for your first contract. So depending on where you're drafted, depends how much money you're going to get made. You're going to make. So you're not really negotiating.
Okay.
So if you get drafted third, so teams will oftentimes, if the reasons teams will try to trade and drop down is they want to get a certain player, but they don't want to pay him as much.
Okay.
So when they hired Rodgers,
interesting.
When they drafted Rodgers, he was a high draft pick.
Yeah.
But he was still way cheaper than Brett Favre was going to be.
Yep.
So there's also a whole economic side to this.
Okay.
And
always
not part of this. Anyways. So Brett finally retires in March 2008. And literally for the 3 years, in 5, 6, 7, he kept, is Brett coming back? Is he coming back or not? He retires in 2008 because the team, they can't cut him. They're not going to, like, the team can't bench him or
You would
cut
never.
Him. He's
couldn't. Already a legend at this point. He has brought the trophy back to Green Bay.
And so he's gonna have to be the one that pulls the plug, and he knows this. And he finally says in March 2008, "I know I can play, but I don't think I want to." Which was like the beginning of him coming off like a spoiled brat. And I can remember at this point, 2008, where was I? I don't know what I was doing. I was starting grad school probably, but I was. I remember, feeling like the Brett.
It ain't so, Brett.
Listening to a lot of sports radio about what a brat he was.
Because part of his, I'm sure that there was a lot of wordplay with his name and brat in headlines. But I mean, part of the appeal was that he was willing to work super hard all the time. And so that story seemed to have starts to fall shifted. Off.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's right.
So then he's not.
And they do make a point. I didn't put it in the notes, but they do make a point. Like, and they didn't say exactly when, that like when his dad died, that was sort of the last person that could hold him accountable in any way, which whatever.
That was some other context that we don't get a ton of, but yeah. Like that guy sounded like a piece of work. Had a lot of disciplinary issues anyway.
So then we switch back to Jenn's story again.
Yep.
And we meet Tim Andre, who worked for the New York Jets. And in 2008, Favre, literally right after retiring in March, comes out of his very short retirement and signs with the Jets. I remember this. It was kind of like, that's weird and stupid. The Jets could not find a quarterback despite a number of times trying to draft them.
Okay.
And the Jets were just not a very well-run team. About the same time, Jenn Sterger is hired by the Jets to be sort of on-field game day host.
And Tim Andre is like her security assistant something.
Yeah.
Like that's his role in all this.
Yeah. And Jenn sees this as the next step in her sports broadcasting career. She'd been writing for SI at that point and doing other kind of online video stuff for them. And Jamil Hill talks about sort of what women in sports media have to go through. It doesn't say a lot, but just in general. And then we get where Jenn starts getting anonymous MySpace messages and then text messages asking to meet her. Not sure who it's from. And then she gets a voicemail that's from Brett Favre.
An employee gives her phone number to him.
Yes.
Without her consent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Favre texts, and she never meets Favre. She never.
That was interesting, right? She never was in the same room with him ever.
She was never, ever. And then Favre texts her a lewd picture of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's apparently, complaining to people in the organization all along the way about this, but unsurprisingly, her complaints are never taken seriously.
Except by Tim Andre.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Her buddy and like the person who is charged with like taking her from place to place, keeping male fans at bay, etc.
Yeah.
And he seems concerned with it, but he feels helpless.
Right.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, her contract is not renewed. In 2009, Favre, at the end of the season, Favre does his retirement dance again. So she's left, and she sort of says she went into hiding. I guess she's just sort of off. Favre does, and this time he comes out of retirement to sign with the Minnesota Vikings.
Also, he comes out of retirement, but then signs with a different team, like in the same year. Like both times.
No, he's coming out of retirement to sign the contract.
Oh.
Yeah. So he did a year at the Jets. It didn't
that
work.
was not clear to me. Yeah. I thought that at least maybe he had like a couple of months or whatever where he was laying low, and then he would come back and say, "Oh no, just kidding."
The season ended. He retired, and then so you figure like the timeline. What I said March, right?
This is how it's relevant to the summer. So the season ends. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, is that
the season ends with the Super Bowl in like February.
Yeah.
He officially retires in March.
Okay.
And then when it's time, when it gets to be about now,
okay,
and they start, a little bit later from now, they'll start reporting to training camps and stuff.
Okay.
Then that's when, who's going to quarterback whatever team?
Got it.
If you haven't, once the draft is over, teams are trying to get their rosters together.
Okay.
And that's when it's time to pull him out. Like I was just looking around. There were in 2013, people were asking if he would trying to get him out of retirement to play. Like it was an ongoing thing.
Yeah, because like how old must he have been in 2013? I don't want to do that math right now. Anyway.
I had his Wikipedia up at one point.
Yeah. Anyway,
but
comes out of retirement second time.
There's no internet in the back house.
A second time.
Meanwhile,
to go to where?
To the Minnesota Vikings,
which is like seen as a huge betrayal to the Packers fans because the Vikings are like a big rival of theirs.
Yes, their biggest rival, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know all about the sports.
Yeah, and I was. So yeah, it goes to the Vikings.
They're like burning his jersey and stuff. Like
jerseys.
It's a big deal.
People love to burn jerseys.
Yeah.
Anytime some of this happens, people be burning jerseys. It doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, Jenn writes an article for Deadspin, unrelated to all of this, but is writing for Deadspin. Through that, is emailing back and forth with AJ Delorio, who is the editor at the time of Deadspin.
He was like the head editor?
Yeah, he's editor in chief.
Whoa.
But Deadspin at this point, so Deadspin has its own weird history. They should do a whole documentary on Deadspin. Deadspin gets bought by Gawker a few years after this.
Oh, interesting.
And then when the whole Peter Thiel, Hulk Hogan lawsuit against Gawker that completely bankrupts Gawker.
Okay.
Do you know about this?
No, I'm just keep just for yep. Tiff.
Basically, they report on a billionaire. He sues them for defamation, wins.
Got it.
And the whole Gawker network that included like
yes, I have heard about this. Yes.
What was the?
I think it rings a.
There was a women's focus, like a millennial Gen X women's blog on there that was part of it too. That also went away. Not Bustle, the other one. Oh well. Someone's screaming at their iPhone right now. But Deadspin, Gawker, all those sites got and then they got bought out by a new company, and then like then a couple years later, like they fired the entire staff, quit, and it was a whole thing. And now have you ever heard of Defector? It's another blog and a news site. No, that's fine. That's where all the anyways. Delorio
and Sterger
are emailing back and forth, and as
colleagues,
yes,
off the record,
and she mentions these inappropriate texts from Brett Favre, and Delorio, being the internet editor in chief of a glorified sports blog, goes off, and it doesn't come out to the end of them telling the story, but basically gets someone to leak him the emails and
pays a third party to hack her
He says
email,
they were basically they hack her emails and texts to get the leaked text, and then they run the story over her objections.
Yep.
And
what you think she could sue them for?
She's a public figure at this point,
and so that doesn't.
She could
that gives you no privacy rights.
If she had, I think if she had proof that she could sue whoever hacked her email or text. But she can't sue them for running a story. Running a story about her.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Also, I don't know that in 2025 this story gets run with her name attached to it in the same way that it did in 2009 and whatever this was.
Back then, there's Anyway.
Because this is very early sports internet world.
I found it really interesting when Delorio is interviewed on whatever network is talking about it. And they're like, so you paid a third party, so she didn't consent. So how do you feel about that? Isn't that wrong? And he's like, I mean, if there are two scumbags in this story, it's me and Brett Favre. And I'm like, gross.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I guess at least he's direct.
Yeah, and
about it.
We get a whole montage of the way Sterger is blamed and bears the brunt of criticism as the scandal goes public. Two more women come forward as well who work for the Jets. The NFL does basically nothing, which is not surprising. Jenn's television show was canceled and her broadcasting career is basically over. Side note, she did briefly work as an on-air interviewer. I knew I recognized the name. I didn't know where. She worked for All Elite Wrestling in 2019 up until the pandemic.
Okay.
As one of their interviewers. She's now a comedian.
Really?
She's doing stand-up. Yeah.
Huh. Good for her, I guess.
Yeah, I found an interview with her where she talks about all this.
All right.
Jamil Hill sums it up well. She says her career was over when it should have been the other way around. As Jen puts it, my life was ruined and he went into the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. There's a whole thing about Brett Favre in the Hall of Fame that was interesting. So then we cut to Kiln, Mississippi.
Let me be very quick to say we are now 15 minutes from the end of the documentary. That's when we cut to Kiln, Mississippi.
Yes.
And I think that that's important, and we will talk about that later. But
I'm excited.
Go ahead.
Because I have a whole thing on.
Anyway.
So Kiln, Mississippi.
What happens in Kiln, Mississippi?
Favre is coaching high school football. We get Michael Vick.
Again.
Which like I said, I hollered. So Favre is making money through various endorsements, Wrangler jeans, what else, whatever.
Yep.
And is one early investor in the experimental concussion treatment called Prevacus. In 2020, while his daughter's playing volleyball at Southern Miss, Favre wants to get them a new volleyball arena, and so he raises funds by defrauding the state's federal TANF funds. So TANF are these cash funds given to the poorest people in the country. And in this case, we're talking about the poorest people in the poorest state in the country.
Yep.
TANF is I only because of some connections I have with the local food pantry here in town, wherever they do a lot of this TANF stuff. There's the TANF food stuff and then the money stuff, and it's usually going to people who are even below like the food stamp line.
They said
with kids.
The example that they give was a single mom with 2 kids would be eligible for like $260 a month from TANF, and it let's make very clear that at the time, and I mean still now, it's a little bit lower than it was, but the poverty rate was near 20%.
Yeah.
So like 1 in 5 people are living in poverty in Mississippi, and suddenly there is $5 million for this volleyball court that comes from that fund.
Yep.
That gives $260 a month to a single mom with 2 kids.
And $1 million to Favre himself for speaking engagements he never went to. Also, TANF funds go to Prevacus. They don't like you said, they don't really unpack the details of all of this because it's a massive.
But because
problem.
He's Brett Favre, he has connections to politicians. Those politicians have connections to people in charge of this organization and this space with this kinds of it's this web of power that then
and the text messages where he's
texting.
No one's going to be able to find out that this came to me, right?
With Nancy New, and he's giving they're trading text messages of like, if this money comes to me, can I get in trouble? Will people be able to trace it? And she's like, I understand your concern. And they do it anyway.
And they show a clip of so Shannon Sharp, who's on one of these talking head shows with I can't remember the name of the other guy across from him. He gets on my last nerve. I can't stand him. But Shannon Sharp's very, very, very good, very sharp guy. No pun intended. But he goes off on Brett Favre and this whole situation. He has this line about, people talk about black and brown people are stealing, but the real thieves, they look like Brett Favre. It is worth finding the full clip online. Side note, Brett Favre sued him for defamation.
No kidding.
Over this. That went almost to this, I think it went all the way, it went to multiple appellate courts.
What was the decision? Do you know?
Oh, it got dismissed. But it was a multi-year process where Favre sued him over that. And which is, I think, is interesting. So Shannon Sharp, but it is worth going to find the whole clip because it's just fantastic. Michael Vick. So what do you know about Michael Vick?
I know that there was, because again, I don't pay attention to many of the sports, but I do remember that it was big news. There was a dog fighting scandal. Yeah. And he was involved with that scandal. He was was he taking people's bet? He was organizing dog fights?
He was organizing a multi-state
among pit bulls,
ring
right?
And organized dogs and gambling and a whole thing.
Okay.
Was convicted for federal charges and I don't know if it was concurrent state charges in Virginia, but spent 2 years in federal prison for it. Okay. And
what happened to his, like, what became of his career after the fact?
He came back
to football.
He spent 2 years. So he was, and I followed Vic a lot because he played for the Falcons.
Okay.
Growing up in the South, I was a Falcons fan.
Okay.
And they were
Did he
good.
play while Favre was there? No, he was later.
No, Vic was in like I think Vic's first season was like 2001. Okay. So much later. But Vic, first of all, black quarterback, very rare. Second of all, incredibly different kind of quarterback for the time because he could run and throw in these remarkable ways. Okay. Incredible athlete. One of the best video game quarterbacks ever because his character was so fast.
Okay.
So when you're playing video games, he was always great to play with because he was just so fast.
I have questions, but that's fine. That's not for this podcast. Anyway.
But then I was following that whole story. He comes back after 2 years and plays for the Eagles and plays all the way to 2015, off and on. But what was the other one that was interesting was Terrell Owens comes up in the Shannon Sharp rant. And I was trying to see, I can't remember if Owens ever it was about the same time that Brett Favre was going to be was inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And Terrence Owens, despite being arguably the greatest receiver in the history of the NFL, was not in the Hall of Fame because he was quote unquote a bad teammate. He was eventually inducted in 2018. But so Sharp holds up Brett Favre, who had this horrible, all of this off the field issues and all of the off the field issues that keep Terrell Owens out of the Hall of Fame. And Terrell Owens is black. Mm-hmm. Is the important, I think, piece there. So anyways, we get the end that Favre was never charged with any crimes related to the TANF scheme. 7 other people are, 6 plead guilty. Mississippi Department of Human Services has sued Favre, trying to get money back. I think he's actually paid back like $600,000.
Okay.
And that's sort of where we leave it. Yeah. So what do you want to talk about?
Well,
you brought this thing to me. I've tried to explain it to you.
Thank you. That's why I bring things to you. That's why I suggest, I think I also suggested Mr. McMahon, right? Yeah. I suggest the stories that I need explained to me. So, one of the things that I think we should talk about, this is a story about marginalization all the way down. And Jenn Sterger is completely right to say that she is only a supporting character in Favre's story. Like, he gets to be the hero. But I don't think she's quite right in making a direct comparison like she does when she is making that point between herself and Mississippians in poverty.
Right.
That he steals from.
Yeah.
I am not comparing harm, although I think that the way that we tell stories implicitly makes all sorts of those judgment calls and comparisons. And we get the story of the Mississippians in poverty.
Yeah.
Sort of. We actually don't get any stories about those people.
Right.
But we get the story about his misappropriation of welfare funds in the last legit 14 minutes of the documentary. Yeah. That's not counting credits and stuff. So we hear her story and her backstory and what exactly she's aiming for, what her dreams are, what is taken from her. And we have a sense of, and that's a story that deserves to be told. Make no mistake. But like you said, that is really nicely kind of woven back and forth with this story that's being told about Brett Favre. Here's his rise to glory. Here's her getting plucked out of obscurity and cast into this national spotlight throughout the documentary.
Yeah.
And so I just think that I think that that's worth talking about a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that was happy to watch an hour and a half documentary. But then there's another part of me that's like,
maybe it was only an hour. Was it an hour and a half?
It was like
I don't know.
Hour 20 maybe. But like, there was a part that was like this.
So I mean, it is short.
Could have easily, but yeah, like maybe this could have been a 2 or 3 part thing.
It could have
easily.
And or though, I mean, we've figured it out with like hair. We're able to get 3 strands and braid them together, right?
No, that's true.
Like you can do that with narrative strands as well. And
actually, would have worked really well because they start in Mississippi, they end in Mississippi.
Yeah, man.
We could have stayed in Mississippi whilst all this is happening in Green Bay.
And so while her story is Brett's story, I get that, and I'm not trying to take anything away from that. Her story deserves to be told in all of its like. I am glad that they had the sports journalist that you were mentioning. Who has written about this stuff and who talks about misogyny inside of sports journalism and sports stories in general, the narratives that we tell, blah, blah, blah. But we also could have heard about a family who's, I don't know, like I on one hand, I think that telling stories can be in their own right exploitative in a way. Like, I mean, Jenn Sterger is a great example of that.
Yeah.
A story was told that she didn't want told.
Right.
And it was told without her consent. And the way that it was told did not involve her participation in any way. So I don't know what goes into all of the decisions that producers make and directors make when they are figuring out how to so it's complicated. I don't mean just add story of poverty and stir. I think that's problematic too. But in terms of like what people get highlighted and what stories are told and how they're told about those people, we have point counterpoint of Brett Favre and Jenn Sterger. And we hear a glimmer of something about a welfare scandal at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then it's brought up at the very end. And but it's clearly as ever, structurally complicated tale.
And it's sort of seen as sort of the denouement of Brett's career, like the lowest that he falls to. Like,
see, that's another one that I try. I always say denouement, but I'm just
probably better.
Like saying French things all the time. But it's not. I think probably Favre
and
denouement
the denouement
are correct. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead. Your point was more important.
That it was just sort of like that. It was presented as kind of like the rock bottom that he hit in a certain way, right? As opposed to being like the real story shouldn't probably not be is not the rise and fall. This is where it is like the McMahon documentary.
Why does a family get $200?
Right. Well, but also if we're going to say that if we're using. If the idea is that Brett Favre is a useful example to talk about a lot of different things in sports, right?
Yeah.
Or a lot of different things or the idea of the quarterback or whatever. Like, this is maybe where in the McMahon documentary was so much longer, probably too long. But at least with that, you get to see the little bits along the way, the pattern that's developing that he narrowly escapes.
Yep.
Right. There are moments where he could have been held accountable.
Sure.
Whether it's the Ring Boys or whatever. That then finally the Janelle Grant thing sort of is the last moment. This is like up and then down without an idea that like the same Brett Favre that was sending that picture to Jenn Sterger was that Brett Favre 5 years earlier and 10 years earlier. Right. And and we just don't have the stories or they didn't go find them. Or I mean, the guy who worked for the Packers seemed to be like, we all knew this.
And the same disregard that he has for humans who are not himself.
Yeah.
That makes him think it's okay to send someone unsolicited texts and photos is the same disregard that makes him think it's not a problem to take money that is allocated for people in need. So I think it's because it's like, here's his godlike status.
Yeah.
Here's his womanizing. But then the welfare thing is something else.
Right.
It's like this other story that's also gross and he should be held accountable, but he's not being. but there is a system where sexism and classism, racism, like these things are not, I think that they are inextricably like they are inextricably linked inside of a superstructure that is the thing that allows him to achieve the godlike status in the first place, and that keeps people from holding him to account and keeps people just kind of turning a blind eye. And
so this gets to so Peter King, the gray-haired man reporter who's literally in his kitchen with his agent at one point, right? Tells that story.
Yes.
So he goes unmarked, and this is one of those things where is one of those if you know moments in the documentary where I know that Peter King is an NFL shill. Jock sniffer might be too strong a term for Peter King.
Okay.
But he is the
I don't like that term in the first place.
I know,
yes,
but he is
a hanger on.
Yes. Okay. He is. I'm trying to think. All of the times I've heard other writers talk about this sort of writer, they use colorful language. I don't want to put on our podcast, but he's going to do these profile pieces that he's literally the person who builds these sorts of legends up.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then he even says at the very end, you can love a player and not like the person. And I'm like,
yeah,
that is his entire career.
Yeah.
Right. And
sure. Okay.
He is the one that gets access because of that. He is the one that works, that is going to be, on the broadcasts for ESPN and works for, so
he makes a character out of the athlete.
Yeah. And
that can be marketed
in a way that keeps him on the inside.
Yeah.
The way that he's in there with Buzz Cook, the agent, and Brett Favre's kitchen when Brett's deciding this.
Yes.
And that he tells that as if it's an interesting way, as opposed to being that just shows where you are in this, brother.
Sure.
As opposed to someone like Jamel Hill or even Shannon Sharp, who's a former player.
Right.
Or even Michael Vick, who's a former player.
Yeah.
And so that structure, in some ways, he is the personification of that structure.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes so unmarked in the documentary. And it was just very, so I just think if anyone goes and watches this, pay attention to how much Peter King is doing apologetics for the league. Because side note, this is all the same league. So Shannon Sharp's point that no one wanted to put Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame just because he was kind of obnoxious and brash. But also this is the same league that kept Colin Kaepernick out when he was a viable quarterback that everyone said was good enough to start in the NFL at the time. This is the same league. And this didn't strike me until we were talking just now. Go Google what was going on with the Washington Redskins cheerleaders and other women in that organization at the same time.
So they do pay attention to behavior and character and these kinds of traits that have nothing to do with the raw athleticism, and they can punish people for those intangibles or whatever.
And this is where
when they choose to do so.
Yeah. And this is where Michael Vick is so interesting because now he did get a second chance when he came back after prison, but Vick comes from poverty in Virginia, in the Tidewater, Virginia, which is both a very poor, but also very football talented area, and makes it. But his entire career is sort of hounded by being a black quarterback, which is very rare. Not so much now, but especially during his career. And then one way to read what happens to Vic is he's taking care of all the kids he grew up with. That dogfighting ring were not randos. Those were his buddies.
Okay.
And it's that whole if you make it, I'm bringing y'all with me moment. Right. And so there's a way, there's this interesting moment where the same sort of people that Brett Favre was taking money from are the people from whom Michael Vick comes. And his whole point of he went to prison, he did his time and then came back. And Favre gets away scot-free.
One of his points that Michael Vick's points is if we want to pay attention, if a charge is something that we are taking seriously, there are clearly institutions in place that would allow us to allocate punishment, or like we can try a story in the courts or in public, he says, and so his was a public scandal, but it was also something that, took him to court and put him in prison. Whereas Favre is someone who has never been criminally charged.
Yeah.
And who, though, still has a lot to say. We hear him in a Ways and Means Committee hearing where he says that, like everything that my family's been put through and, my reputation's been ruined and da-da-da. So there has been some public narrative consequence, but it's not anything that he has had to face criminal consequence for, even as loads of other people inside of this story have pled guilty to the charges that have not been brought against him. So
what else did you think else?
Well, I mean, okay, so I get to maybe these points that we're talking about. One of the reasons that I brought this documentary to you and said that maybe it was a good candidate for our summer our summer series is that it really follows a traditional, the true crime cult documentary narrative trajectory of like, here's the 30-second intro where we see how amazing this person is or this group or whatever. And then we get a little like preview of the downfall or the misdeeds that are going to be committed. And then it goes back and gives us context and tells the story.
Yeah.
This is very much that. It's like Brett Favre is a god. And very quickly, there's all of this like religious language that gets brought into play and cult language that gets brought into play. The cult of Brett Favre. So, but the narrative is also the same. As a thought experiment, because I think about storytelling a lot, the literary critic in me wonders what would happen if we told the story of the misdeeds first.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if the context, if the trajectory, if we're moving, because the chronology is about the rise to fame, not about the buildup of these character traits that are, and the way that these systems are working to ignore the kinds of choices that this person is making, and the behaviors that they are engaged in. So I get that, like, from a storytelling perspective, it puts the viewer in the shoes of the fan. Or the follower, such that we learn why this person is compelling. We also kind of become wrapped up in the charisma, and then we experience the betrayal because we learn fully about the downfall. I get that. But I wonder what would change, if anything. I don't really have like a clear answer to this, but like, what would happen if we told the story of here is the stuff that this person did.
Right.
Here's why it's a story that matters to people.
Well, yeah. It does seem with the true crime, the difference, I think, is that with the true crime and even like the cult docs, like if you turn on a documentary about Jonestown, you already know how it's going to end. Like, you probably know how it's going to end. I would think, maybe, most likely, if you're picking that. You might turn this on and not know. You're like, I'm Brett Favre. Oh, I know Brett Favre or whatever. Or like, I'm imagining, because there are plenty of people under 30 who watch a lot of football who know who Brett Favre is, but may not know any of this, right? Because they didn't live through it. So I wonder if there's something about that storytelling that's even more, I don't want to say important, but would be more significant in these cases where that downfall is not the first thing we think of, right? Like
it is, I think, a choice to pay attention to the individual instead of the structures that and there are nods given to those structures. Certainly the director interviews and the production team is interviewing people who name those structures. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the ultimate product that gets made for Netflix that then we watch, it's not really about those. It still is about it's the rise and fall of Brett what the fall of Favre.
The Fall of Favre.
And so it yet again like keeps it being about this dude instead of about the contexts that are necessary in order for him to get away with it. Because like that's one of the points that someone makes toward the end as well, is like even when someone does know all of the things and has followed all of the stories, especially if they are from Green Bay, they'll still welcome him with open arms because you're able to, if you're a sports fan, and this is, I think, one of the things that plugs into religion and like allows for some comparative analysis, is that there is this kind of distinction that gets made between it, you know, if you're a sports fan, if you're a sports follower, then you cannot like the person and you can still love the athlete.
Yeah.
And so when we attach an institution to the athlete or to the religious figure, and when we don't, when it's just a bad apple inside, like when that's the story.
Yeah.
So it's not about this religion being a cult. It's about this person who did wrong in some cases. But in other cases, this religion is totally a cult because look what this person did, you know?
Yeah.
And in this case, I think that there's a similar dynamic that we can see at work, those choices being made.
Well, and the only time we see angry people from the public about any of this is when he goes to Minnesota. like
they burn his jersey when he accepts a contract, when he signs a contract with the Vikings, we burn his jersey.
Which,
when he sends unsolicited sexts to Jenn Sterger, we interview her and say, well, you were selling sex and he bought it. Why should anybody be surprised?
Right. Oh, that was,
right.
That
was a terrible moment. Or even though in a serious, like George Stephanopoulos'
face,
dude, basically asking her, well, but wasn't it at least flattering? Like he's the man and he's paying attention to you. Isn't that?
Shows you what George Stephanopoulos wanted from Brett Favre.
Listen, it's so yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm sure that he also lost some fans when they found out about these scandals. I'm sure that he must have, right? But the general story, the by and large kind of
one thing is this doesn't break. I think there's something about the leaving Green Bay and going to New York that there's something about taking down not just Brett Favre, but the New York Jets quarterback. That there's an extra layer of like what you can get away, what he could get away with without anyone covering it in Wisconsin. I think is much harder to get away with in New York, right? And so I think there's a part of this where there seems to be in one of the former Packers employees seems to hint at this, like there's a whole trove of stuff that has happened in Green Bay that no one will ever know about, right? And I would not be surprised if there was stuff that happened at Southern Miss that no one's because like no one I know about how that worked. So like I think there's that piece of it, but also I think we talk about losing fans, like the fact that this all happened in retirement, I think also plays a part of it in that like no one really gives a shit about Brett Favre.
Well, and he's not being he wasn't like taken out of the Hall of Fame, right? Like these charges have not tarnished his reputation inside of the sports world,
right.
like in a very literal sense, like on a, have you seen the documentary about Pete Rose yet?
I've not.
We should talk about that one maybe at some point. Maybe not even record
Pete Rose,
but
who's getting in. He's getting in. He might get in now.
Is he getting in?
I don't know if he's going to get in, but he's eligible again. He's now eligible.
That becomes
They should still put all the steroids guys in. That's
the gambling scandal keeps him from being considered for the Hall of Fame.
They lifted that. They lifted his lifetime ban, so he can now be voted in if the voters
know that.
choose.
Okay, so
unlike all of the steroid guys, because baseball writers are idiots.
You see about the sports commentary that
it's like
I don't have feelings
baseball
about
writers.
I don't know.
You want to like
I have feelings about baseball, but
I have feelings about baseball and baseball writers.
Yeah,
but my feeling is we should let the steroid guys in. That in fact more steroids would be better for baseball.
Okay.
That's my unpopular opinion.
Okay, is that your takeaway? Is that
it's not my takeaway? No. My takeaway. You want to do my takeaway? It's okay. Now I have this in my head because I just put through a sports society and religion course that I'm teaching eventually, probably in a year.
And there are lots of books.
And I'm currently writing a chapter for Rutledge Handbook or Companion to Religion and Sports.
Okay,
so
there's a lot of sports religion comparative analysis inside of the field for sure.
Yeah, I don't like any of it.
Tell us why, Mike.
It's not that sports are a religion, which is I hate that take.
Why?
Because it gets away from two things. One, the fact that both what counts as sports and what counts as a religion is always up for grabs. As you've listened, this is why we mix and match these things on this podcast.
For sure.
And in fact, the two categories, the more I've been digging into this in the last year, and there are probably people out there who already know this, share a same historical moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's this division of society that we call modernity that produces a realm of things called sports and a realm of things called religion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's why you'll find lucha libre in the sports section in Mexico, but not in USA Today. So what I do think is true, though, that there are many of the same things at work in sports, like power, status, money, charisma, which we could talk a lot about what that even means, right? Are also at work in things we call religion or cults.
Sure.
Right. But, and this is what I think is intriguing. We have this thing called cult, which we can separate out the icky, weird, harmful things that we want to call religion. We don't have that for sports, right? Like there's not a similar near term for harmful things that happen in sports or harmful sports. Like maybe you heard this a lot, like when UFC and mixed martial arts first kind of broke into mainstream, like, oh, that's barbaric or that's not a sport, right? Or you'll hear this around things will be not sports, but we don't have that category for this other stuff. And so there's something about that doesn't give us a way. So if I lead a group, if not me, so Jonestown, to go to the paradigmatic example.
Yeah.
Did I say paradigmatic right? Paradigmatic.
I am making a case against my own pronunciations, not for.
But to take Jonestown, we're oh, this man brought death upon these hundreds of people.
Yep.
Therefore, it's a cult.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have a thing where it's this man or woman.
Yep.
In this, within the institutions of sports.
Sure.
Did whatever.
Yeah. Do you think we should?
No, I just think it makes it hard for us to talk about harm.
Okay. Got it.
It's very easy to say so when you come out of the BLP, right? And you went through all of the emotional, mental, what all sorts of abuse comes out of that. And you say, oh, it's a cult. It's a way to signal this is a harmful, somehow broken thing.
Sure.
We don't have that. We don't have that for sports, right?
So when do we create and then adopt shorthand that allows us to bring all of these other things to the table? And when do we not feel it necessary to invent that kind of shorthand?
Right.
Because I think that you can absolutely and should absolutely talk about harm inside of, but even how people identify that, as we have seen time and time again, is its own sliding scale. But we can talk about harm inside of religious institutions and institutions deemed religious without using the cult shorthand.
No, yeah, I'm not advocating we need a cult.
Well, yeah. So I'm thinking through your point, and I think it's a good one because, like, I mean, my takeaway is similar, or is related, but yeah. So someone in the documentary at some point says rules are made for people who don't have power. They're not made for wealthy, famous people.
Right.
And this is really at the heart of so much of my curiosity with all of these stories is like when, how, why we draw boundaries around certain behaviors and certain people engaged in them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when we need shorthand to talk about it, when we need certain kinds of signifiers and identifiers to talk about those things.
Yeah.
When our boundaries are deal breakers and when they are just general rules of thumb that we hope that you will comply with. It reminds me, again, we've talked before about Leslie Duro Smith. She's a scholar of religion in Kansas. She has a great book called Compromising Positions where she talks about presidential sex scandals.
Yeah.
And like, when because some sex scandals are career ending and other sex scandals are blips on the radar of a bright political future that someone is still able to, like, their reputation is able to endure. They still have a whatever. And there are rituals, there are postures, there are narratives, there is rhetoric that attends the choices that we make about drawing those boundaries. And like when it's a scandal that is a career ender, like here are the rituals that attend that. Here's the rhetoric that attends that. When these are scandals that have their moment in the media, but that more or less don't matter, here are the things we do in order to make that possible. And I think that those are really, worth paying attention to.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I didn't want to not mention this. I'm intrigued about, I wish if I had a question I could ask the people who made this documentary. Be curious if they had any direction or if they themselves knew. Because so Netflix is now in business with the NFL. Like they have 2 NFL games a year on Netflix. And
interesting.
Yeah. And I know because ESPN is a very close partner with the NFL, you will not get a lot of ESPN like commentary that is critical of the league, right? Of players, or whatever, but not of the league. And there's very little of the league in this documentary. And some it's
implicit, like it's there, but
but there's not. So I'm curious if they were aware as they were making it that this was about. Like that was one of the questions with the McMahon thing because that documentary was started before WWE, before Netflix bought the rights to WWE's Monday Night Show.
Okay. Interesting.
And so there was a question of like, how's that? And they were like, no, that was in the can, and then the deal happened with for Monday Night. But this was not that. I mean, this has been an ongoing relationship for a couple
and
years.
And is the
now.
Untold like a franchise that has its own autonomy,
right?
Apart from the Netflix superstructure, or
because I think you're not going to find a 30 for 30 like this on ESPN right now because they are so much in, because they have Monday Night Football and playoff games and all sorts of stuff. So I don't know. We're thinking about structures.
Yeah, totally. Do you have a cult favorite to recommend? I don't.
My cult favorite. Do you have a cult favorite? I have a cult favorite.
I mean, it's summer and it's hot. And so, I mean, mine's not very, you always get on to me for like doing academic cult favorites. So this is not a documentary and it is not a book. I'm going to put a plug in for Shrubs. Have I plugged Shrubs before?
No.
Have I already said that I like
Shrubs? We're on the same wavelength, but go ahead.
Yeah. So a friend of mine recently, and with just such good timing. So shout out Jenny Chimwell. I appreciate this very much. Gifted me a book of Shrubs. And
a book of shrubs. Okay.
Yeah. Of shrub recipes. So like a shrub is, you have a fruit or a vegetable often, and you infuse that you infuse apple cider vinegar and some sugar with that thing. Mm-hmm. And then you put it with some club soda or whatever. My favorite currently is celery shrub. I should have brought you a jar of celery shrub for your birthday. I was
so not on the same wavelength as you.
No.
You said shrubs. And I was thinking plants? Like a box shrub. I thought you were about to talk about
like a Monty Python, like send us a shrubbery, give us a shrubbery. Or just, the nights you say me.
I don't know. I didn't know if you're like,
no,
my
a
friend
shrub
and then you said a book of shrubs. I was like, is this some field guide to identifying?
I mean, those exist too, and I do like them. But no, a shrub can be something you drink.
Yes.
And so my favorite is a celery shrub currently.
Yeah.
That, some lemon juice.
Yeah.
Some Angostura bitters, club soda, celery shrub. Chef's kiss.
There was somewhere I got some like bottled versions of this at one point.
I'll give you a jar. I've been making some shrubs lately.
Sure.
So instead I brought you a cookie. You can enjoy a cookie with a shrub drink.
Sure. Here for it.
Add them to cocktails, add them to mocktails. But it's nice. It's hot outside.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to hydrate.
Yes.
And stay cool.
I also did not go academic.
While watching football. While watching the sports ball.
There's no, you can maybe watch baseball.
Tennis.
Basketball playoffs or baseball playoffs?
Anyway. What's your cult favorite,
Wind
Mike?
chimes.
Okay. We're both.
That's why I thought shrubs. I was like, yeah, you can have your shrubs. I hate shrubs. Our house has no shrubs in the yard because I hate
the plant kind.
Yes, the plant. Okay. I hate trimming them.
Okay.
It's my least favorite thing.
Well, instead you can have a drink shrub.
Yeah. Well, there you go. While I listen,
wind chimes.
Wind chimes.
Tell me about them.
It's the time of year to be on the back porch drinking a shrub. And I really like our wind chimes because my house is old and has thin uninsulated walls.
Yes.
I can hear the wind chimes on the back porch in the kitchen, and it's a lovely little noise.
Lovely.
And I have found that they make great gifts because in my head,
so does a shrub book.
Yes, no. In my mind, the best gifts are something that someone would like but will never buy for themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like a wind chime is often for a lot of people fits that.
Okay.
Because like no one's like
you have to get tone right though,
There's so many. Wind chimes are great. We probably have 8 or 9.
I think I have a wind chime.
A wind symphony.
I think I do.
Wind chime. Yeah. Also the other thing that I like, not really a wind chime, but have you ever seen what's it called? I lost the name of it now. It's this thing that goes on the back of a door, and it's like a guitar body, and it has 4 strings, like a guitar would, and then these little balls. And when you close the door harp. It just hit me in the head. Door harp.
Have
you seen these?
No.
Yeah, they're really great. Those also make a great gift. They're like wind chimes for inside, but you put them on like your front door or a door in your house, and when you close the door, that makes the little balls that are all different levels hit, and then it ding 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 ding. So. Door harp.
Interesting.
And they're cool looking too.
Sure.
If you like that kind of folk art, kind of carved
Google
stuff.
it. I'll Google it. I'll give it a Google.
Yeah. They're, I bought one of those for somebody recently too. They're nice. They're lovely gifts.
Cool.
These are my home. These are Mike's home and garden gift ideas.
Yes. It's fine. Well, I'll try to come back with like a fancy book or something that I'm reading next week.
You don't have to. It's fine.
No. I'll just,
I was going to do a book, but I did
this. I feel like, if it's, we can afford a few.
Well, since we're talking football, I'm going to amend with one small amendment.
Okay.
And that is, I just finished, the book. It came out in 2015 or 16. called The Perfect Pass. A story, it's like the subtitle's like a story of American genius, but it is about the invention of passing first offense in football, specifically starting in like small Division II college football.
Okay.
And how it was at Iowa Wesleyan College and then later Valdosta State that this coach, Hal Mumme, who no one ever really, unless you really follow college football, you've never heard of, invented this offense that is now, as we speak, this was back in like the 90s, now is in every football team is running parts of it. Okay. Like he's sort of, and it's really not a football book. It's not written by a sports writer.
I have notes about the subtitle. We'll leave those alone.
But it's about, it's one of those stories of people inventing stuff.
Yeah.
And coming up with it's an intellectual history. It just happens to
American
be about
genius.
Football plays.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting.
Cool. It was very fun. And also oddly has a lot of religion in it because a lot of this came out of BYU. So there you go.
Next time we've got more summer. Our summer series isn't over. I'm excited.
You want to tell them what we're doing?
We're going to talk about Woodstock 99.
Woodstock 99. I'm excited.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I just hung out with some dear friends who are headed to Bonnaroo.
Bonnaroo.
Yes.
I went to the second Bonnaroo.
Did you? I have no stories from Bonnaroo, but
I have so many stories. I'm not going to tell them on here.
I don't know. But yes, we are going to talk music festivals.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about music festivals and the mistakes that are made.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I am.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No.
What? They played that? That was
yes, they did.
That was when all hell broke loose.
I'm saying no. Like it was my cringe response
to the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
To lots of things.
I have lots of thoughts.
Well, that's for later. That's for later, Michael.
So,
eat a cookie
in a couple weeks. Great. Thanks for listening.
Yay.
You can subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a rating and review. When you're out and about and you see someone put their phone down,
oh my god,
log them into Spotify and subscribe to us. But do leave us comments on either Spotify or Apple. Is super helpful.
Are we going to be back in your? Is this our venue for next time too?
Are
we going to stay here for the rest of the summer?
I think we're supposed to be back in the building by the next time.
Who can say? Who can say?
Back in the building. I've seen it. They've repainted. The porches were red last time I was there.
The balcony,
sneaking in. So we may have all new balconies with, I don't know.
No, they're going to be great. Anyway, that's the sub. It doesn't matter. We're gonna be somewhere, and it's gonna be great.
And
we're not gonna be in a tent, like a Woodstock misery. We'll be in a place with air conditioning and clean water.
And thanks to everybody. If you are listening to this and you listened to our first episode,
we appreciate you.
Thank you for that.
This is where it was. This is where it all began.
Yes, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Hey.
Bye.